Happy Saturday, July 20th, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. And in today's weather forecast, well, we're looking at a very boring weather forecast across the United States. Not much happening outside of heat across the west, very pleasant temperatures across the east. We're looking at the long-range forecast. Do things turn more active? We'll answer that question, and we'll look at the tropical weather update at the end of the video. So make sure to give it a like down below, subscribe here to this channel so you get the latest weather information right at your fingertips. Also leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those after the video. So here you are looking at the weather alerts across the entirety of the lower 48 here in the United States. Notice out west, we have heat advisories in the orange. In those purple shaded colors, those are excessive heat warnings. And we also have flood watches down here into New Mexico, as well as over here into parts of Virginia and North Carolina, even heat advisories over in southern Florida. Now looking here at the geopotential height, this basically just shows you the upper levels of the atmosphere. Big ridge of high pressure across the western U.S., big trough across the east. So with a ridge out west, that means warmer temperatures. With the trough out east, that means cooler temperatures, and that really continues as we even go into the second half of the weekend tomorrow on Sunday, July 21st. So let's look at those temperatures this afternoon, and you can see across the eastern two-thirds of the country, get outdoors and enjoy it. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s out here as we go into the east. Out west, lots of 90s, triple digits here. The desert southwest down into southern California, southern Nevada, and into portions there of Arizona. Temperatures will be well into the triple digits here, even over 110, 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's going to be rather scorching out there as we go into the afternoon. Waking up Sunday morning, temperatures very pleasant. Open up the windows across the northern U.S. Temperatures in the morning will be in the 50s and the 60s out there. Very low humidity. And then as we go into Sunday afternoon, much of the same, kind of a carbon copy from today into tomorrow. We see more 70s and 80s out east with low humidity. And we see more heat out west with those 90s and those triple digits, even up into Canada here, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, starting to see some heat out there as we go into Sunday afternoon. Looking yesterday, we did have some very active weather across the western plains and the front range of the Rockies into Colorado there. We did have a lot of wind reports where we had 49 wind reports, one tornado reported yesterday, actually in southwestern Georgia, and we actually had 18 hail reports. So a total of 68 severe weather reports all told from yesterday, mainly in the states of South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, into the Oklahoma, Texas panhandles, and eastern Colorado is where most of those did take place. Now going through today, we do have a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather in a couple of areas. One over here, again, in those same areas from the front range of the Rockies near Denver, all the way down into northeastern New Mexico, the Texas panhandle, and western portions of Oklahoma. Another area of a marginal risk, 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, from southeastern Virginia down into the Carolinas, coastal Georgia, and northeastern Florida as well. Mainly for wind and hail, the tornado threat is extraordinarily low here. So looking at the afternoon, pop-up storms with the peak heating of the day, those will be scattered about, so not everybody will see those. This evening, those will persist, and then as we lose the daytime heating later this evening and after midnight into early Sunday morning, we will also lose the intensity and the coverage as well of those showers and storms. Going into Sunday, write this down on the calendar, folks. This is the first time the Storm Prediction Center has not issued so far a marginal risk in quite some time, probably dating back to the spring months of April and May. And so this is going to be a very quiet end of the weekend. While I can't rule out maybe a marginal risk upgrade as we do get closer in some of these areas, I think this will mainly be those everyday pop-up popcorn storms, those garden variety storms. You see a downpour, you see maybe a 30-40 mile per hour wind gust out of those storms and some lightning. Definitely watch out for that Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and then again, we lose the daytime heating, we lose the coverage and intensity of the storms heading into early Monday morning. Those storms will be scattered about, so if you get under one of those heavier storm clusters, they could drop a quick inch of rain. Otherwise, if you don't see anything, well, then of course you won't see any rainfall. So that will be more likely out west or over here in the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, and the Northeast, where we're going to be mainly dry. Middle of the country in the Great Plains, parts of New Mexico, Colorado, and eastern Arizona, and then across the Gulf Coast, up the southeast coast there, into places like Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas there, eastern Tennessee, and Virginia. That's where we could expect more numerous showers and storms through your Monday time frame. Looking at the weather pattern heading into this upcoming work week, Monday, July 22nd through Friday, July 26th, we have a trough over the middle of the country here, bringing our nice, refreshing, and lower humidity air to the country. We have a lot of ridge west here, and that's going to allow a lot of the heat to build. That's where it'll stay as we go into next week. A lot of the cooler air will stay in place in the central and eastern U.S. next week as well. And let's take a peek into those temperatures. Monday afternoon, July 22nd. A lot of 70s and 80s on the map here, 90s triple digits out west. That continues into Wednesday afternoon, although the heat starts to march eastward a little bit further toward the western plains on Wednesday, so maybe a tad bit warmer there into the mid and upper 80s. And then Friday afternoon, the heat returns across the Great Plains, where we could see a few readings achieving the low and middle 90s, but other than that, still very pleasant across the eastern U.S. later next week on Friday, July 26th. Precipitation trends through next week. Very dry out west, very dry across the north central U.S. and southern Canada as well. The really only wet areas will be from Texas all the way up here through the southeast and the Dixie Alley region, all the way up into the Delmarva. That's where we could have rainfall anomalies up to 2 to 3 inches above normal for this time of year. And you can see Monday we see that, Tuesday we see that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you name it. We have a lot of rainfall opportunities here across the southern, southeastern, and eastern U.S. as we go through next week, whereas areas out west and on the north central U.S. and even southern Canada, for the most part, will remain dry as we go into next week. And those cumulative days of precipitation will be adding up from Texas over here into the eastern U.S. and the southeast. We're going to be seeing a lot of oranges and reds here. That means 2 to 4, even 5 inches worth of rain will be a possibility, if not a likelihood, for a lot of these areas here across the southeast, whereas out west and the north, we're going to be seeing rainfall amounts few and far between through next week. But with all the rainfall coming across the east and southeast, we need it. We have moderate, severe, and even pockets of extreme drought starting to develop here, even a more widespread extreme drought area here into the panhandle of West Virginia and northern Virginia, where we have extreme drought conditions. So this rainfall will help to alleviate some of those dry conditions. And also over here in New Mexico, West Texas, where we need the rain, we may get some decent rains there as well. But areas that are dry out in the Pacific Northwest will remain dry, and actually the drought will likely worsen with the drier air as we go through the next week or two up there. Turning to your tropical weather update, National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, not forecasting anything to happen over the next 7 days, which is certainly good news across the North Atlantic Basin. You can see, and the reason for that is the Saharan dust coming off of Africa into the tropical Atlantic is very widespread here, especially in the Caribbean and toward the Bahamas region. So we're just not going to see a lot of moist air, just a lot of dry air aloft. That continues into the first half of next week, Monday the 22nd through Wednesday the 24th. A lot more of that dust moving off of Africa into the main development region and the North Atlantic Ocean in general. Climatology suggests, though, we still have a busy season ahead, and looking at that as we turn into August, things start to ramp up, though, into the North Atlantic Ocean. So we will be tracking everything for you right here on this channel, and it does look like the first week of August, there may be something to watch there from the main development region into the central and eastern Caribbean or even the northwestern Atlantic Basin. We'll keep a very close eye on that. And also activating is the East Pacific Ocean here. May start to see more tropical activity into the first week in August. So to break down the weather forecast for today, quiet weather pattern this weekend, get outdoors, enjoy it, open up those windows with that lower humidity out there. Very rainy across the southeast United States next week, several inches of rain from Texas all the way to Maryland. And then you see tropics are remaining quiet really through late July. I think early August we start to ramp back up with more tropical activity in the North Atlantic Ocean. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel on Weather on the Go. We'll have the latest information right at your fingertips if you subscribe to this channel. Make sure to give the video a like down below if you did enjoy today's weather forecast. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their weekend out there.